If you've been thinking about expanding your workspace or making a home theater wall, this device might interest you. It's the OREI UHD-14VW, a video wall controller, and this small black box claims to turn any 4 displays into one big 4K screen. Sounds simple, but does it actually hold up? So today we're putting it to the test and walking you through what it's like to set up and use every day. Let's get started. Right out of the box, the unit feels solid. The body is all metal, and it's got some decent weight to it. That's something we like because it feels like proper hardware, not a cheap plastic box. The design is simple, matte black, compact, and built to sit quietly in a setup. The front panel keeps things minimal. You get power, input, mode, and resolution buttons, along with small LED indicators. They're not too bright, which helps in darker rooms, but under strong light, they can be a bit hard to see. The buttons have a clean click, though most people will likely use the remote for everyday operation. On the sides, you can see decent ventilation slots, which help with airflow. We kept it running for hours, and it stayed warm, but never hot. So, heat control is solid here. If you're building a wall setup for longer sessions, say signage or a control room, that's important. The finish looks clean, though it does collect fingerprints. Not a deal breaker, but worth noting if you move it around often. Now, when you flip it around, this is where the UHD-14VW starts to show some flexibility. On the input side, you get one full-sized HDMI and one USB-C port, and that's a big plus because it means you can connect both traditional sources like a Blu-ray player or PC, and also modern USB-C devices like laptops and tablets. Both inputs support up to 4K at 60 Hz and are fully compliant with HDMI 2.0 and HDCP 2.2, which ensures compatibility with newer streaming devices and protected content. Then, on the output side, there are 4 HDMI ports for your displays. We used 4 27-inch 4K monitors, and setup was straightforward. There's also a 3.5mm analog audio out and an optical port, which lets you send sound to a separate system. We tested both. Optical gave slightly cleaner audio, as expected. You also get an RS-232 control port and an IR input for the remote extender, which helps if you plan to hide the controller in a cabinet. The power input is a simple 12-volt barrel connector, and OREI includes the adapter. Overall, the layout makes sense. Just make sure your HDMI cables are good quality and not too long. Under 30 feet works best. We tried longer runs and saw signal loss occasionally, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, getting this up and running was easier than expected. We connected the 4 outputs to the displays, plugged in power, and within seconds the unit detected everything. The signal synced automatically and displayed a full 4K feed across all 4 screens. You can change layouts using the buttons or the remote. We mostly use the remote. It's faster and more comfortable when you're standing a few feet away from the wall. And it supports 8 layout modes, including 2x2, 1x4, and 4x1. Switching between them takes about a second. The screens go black briefly, then refresh with the new layout. We tried both horizontal and vertical arrangements, and the 180-degree rotation feature came in handy when one of our screens had cables facing upward. It rotated the image perfectly without extra software. Alignment was surprisingly good. The bezels between monitors are always a challenge, but the unit lets you tweak bezel correction for each screen. Once adjusted, the overall picture looked continuous, especially from a few feet away. The audio extraction worked well too. We ran the optical output into a soundbar, and everything stayed in sync. No lag, no dropout. There's no volume control on the box itself, but most people will manage sound through their receiver or speaker anyway. Now, let's talk about how it performs beyond the basics. It supports 4K at 60 Hz with full 4x4x4 chroma, which means sharp detail and accurate color when your source and displays match. In our playback tests, motion was smooth and input latency was almost negligible for video playback. For gaming, however, you might feel a hint of delay. Not much, but enough that competitive players would notice. Image quality across the 4 screens looked identical, with no color banding or frame skips. It handles HDCP protected content without a problem, which is something not every budget controller manages well. However, there are limits worth mentioning. There's no HDR or Dolby Vision support, so while you still get sharp 4K video, the dynamic range won't look as rich as a true HDR feed. Also, since the controller relies on your input device to scale and feed content, it doesn't upscale lower resolutions natively. So, if you send in 1080p, it'll just stretch it, not upscale it. Still, in most use cases like digital signage, home theater, control rooms, it performs as expected. We even left it running for a few hours just to check for heat buildup, and while it got warm to the touch, it never overheated or lost signal. After spending time with it, we think the OREI UHD-14VW nails what most people actually need. It's solid, dependable, and easy to set up. The build feels premium for its class, and performance stays consistent even through long sessions. For around $129, it sits in a sweet spot. Affordable, yet capable enough for professional displays. Sure, there are a few trade-offs. There's no HDR support, no app-based control, and HDMI runs have to stay short unless you use extenders. But none of that hurts its core purpose. This box is made to split a clean 4K signal across 4 screens, and it does that without a single hiccup. So, if you're planning a simple video wall for signage, control rooms, or just a big home display, this is one of those rare plug-and-play tools that truly works as advertised. Reliable, sharp, and completely fuss-free. That was all. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments. And, if you found it helpful, give it a like and subscribe for more videos.